Sorry, I'm going to come over to you if you don't mind. Sorry, Sharon.
I liked the fact that it was you know, reflecting on your own experience of it, and these are the problems I came up with. This is how hard research is, you know, and this is how we collect our data, and this is how, and the reflections from student teachers. I loved that part. Yeah, thanks a million.
Great, thanks a million, Sharon. Anybody else? Yeah, Claire.
Hi, just thanks so much, Bernadette. That was a really interesting talk, and what I'd be interested in exploring further is that Robert tension between values and maybe values systems. You know, I just think that's something I kind of come up against an awful lot. And then the whole assessment piece of reflective practice, I just feel sometimes it seems so incompatible, something that's so deeply personal, to bring about personal change and professional change as well, and then it's going to be assessed, and especially if you're coming from a minority as I am, it's way more problematic. And if rubrics are written you know, from say a neuronormative kind of point of view, you know, how a neurodivergent person might reflect is so different to a neurotypical person. I can just imagine the headaches involved in rubrics, and I'd love to hear more about that. Thanks a million.
That's very well articulated, Claire, because that's exactly what the conflict is for us. In terms of, you know, having that authentic practice taking place during the course, and yet finding a way to have, I suppose, a fair and appropriate assessment tool for that. It's ongoing review, that particular element of the course, and it is trying to find compromise with ensuring that that activity, that reflective activity, is being acknowledged and recognised as value for what it is at where they're at. And also then being able to try and find some way of having to put a grade on it. That's a very challenging space for us. Yeah.
So outside in the virtual world, we had great fun. Everybody really loved your presentation, Bernadette. Everybody, your ears I'm sure were blowing pink, you know. And so the comments that we came up with there, and I kind of just made a quick synopsis of them. And guys, please give me a shout if I've done this incorrectly or if I haven't. So like there was comments like, I wish I'd done this master's, you know, and people were wondering how they would interrogate values, but they love the idea of the values being at the center and reflection being at the center of the process. And they wondered how, you know, you'd scaffold that whole process, you know, with your students. Louise was celebrating the fact that self-study is being allowed and understood and accepted in universities. And I kind of questioned it a little bit, you know, I wasn't sure about it. Brendan was really appreciative of the idea of starting with values and how important it was. And he linked it with that Jack Whitehead idea of living contradiction, you know, and how we don't always live in the direction of the values that we hold. And there was other questions about how to unpack the methodology. I felt you'd be a good woman to answer that. And Paul was asking about, you know, is there a group dynamic after the masters? You know, do they remain colleagues, you know, and or do they do further research, or do we know anything about it? Guys, did I address most of the issues there? Okay, if you feel neglected, just shout at me, okay? Okay, so Brenda, would you be able to address or answer anything there? Heather has her hand up. We come, Brenda, if you would like to respond maybe to anything there that you'd like to.
Yeah, it's an interesting, again, going back to the reflective work that goes on in the course. There is a number of opportunities for students to engage in collaborative discussion, and I think that's really, really important. There's a very strong emphasis on engagement and participation in the course, and that's why we were very tentative around the whole blended learning space as well, that we wanted to ensure that there was participation on site and engagement in structured conversations so that people could develop a discourse around reflection as well, and that they could engage in what worked or what not worked, but what was appropriate for some people in terms of reflective practice and articulating their practice in a reflective manner on what may have been appropriate and accessible for others. So there is a space for that, and I think that was really, really important for us to consider that it wasn't going to be always content in going to be led by students as well, and that's really, really important to us. And we can see that in the dissemination module towards the end of the process, whereby students come together and they become critical friends with each other, and they share initial findings, they share thoughts, ideas, possibilities with their research, for the purposes of engaging in reflective discussions about that, so that there is this time for immersion, there's this time to be with the data in a collaborative supportive space. I hope that answers some of the question there.
That's great. And I've asked everybody that, you know, and I've shared the link with you guys as well, you know, that we have unmuted.
That's great, Bernadette. Thanks a million. Heather, did you want to ask something else there? We're a bit pressed for time now, so we're going to move along rapidly.
Yeah, it was just about the.
Oh, wait a minute now. Why can't we hear you? Oh, because my volume's down.
Okay.
Go again now.
Just about the values clarification, or how they interrogated their values. Did you use a particular tool to help them to do that, or was it just through reflective discussion with each other?
There would have been key milestones of the resources that students would have read early on in the process, and before they engaged in the first module, they would be guided towards reading particular core texts, core sources, key names that we would have said you need to be as informed as possible on Jack Whitehead's theories and the idea cycles, living theory, Jean McNiff, and so on, and Kenneth McTaggart, and so on. So I think that there was a preparation mode, if you like, for students, that they didn't come into the first module and decide, okay, I know all about values, that there was this preemptive preparation time for students to engage in that and then to discuss. Because what we found was, after the first week, that summer course week, that, you know, students were still trying to, you know, grapple with, well, I'm not sure what my values are. So there was a bit of unpacking to do. And that's where we found that immersive week really important, because it gave them a starting point to maybe consider, well, what is important to me in terms of what I do, and what are my key values and principles attached to practice, and how does that affect me on a daily basis, whether it's from a pedagogical point of view, from a context point of view, sociological point of view, whatever that is. So there was a design, I suppose, considered around that, so that students have the best opportunity to unpack and discuss and consider the idea of their values before embarking on research cycles or any sort of, I suppose, collective role rotation, if you like.
That's great. Listen, thanks a million, Bernadette. That was fabulous. And I know everybody definitely online really enjoyed your presentation, as well as the people, the rowdies, the loud people here in the room.